Well, hi there everyone. I am working on this project live, meaning I am not going to do a voiceover. I feel that this project we need to be talking as I'm going to be working on it. So, everybody requested this video. I hope I do a good job. I've spent some time designing. Well, I don't want to show it to you just yet, but this is what I am going to be making. I showed everyone on Instagram and it was nuts. So I promised everyone that I was going to try and work on a process video, but I went a different route. The way I made this one is not the way it's not what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a total different way because I think that the new way is going to be easier. So I grabbed some of my journals, some which are not 100% full, but there's a lot of stuff already going on in them. So I wanted to show you. So there is 4 of those. I should grab more that they are already kind of on their way to being chunky. Actually, they're not on their way of being chunky. They are actually chunky already. So I'm gonna swap this one there just to kind of give you an idea of how many you can fit. There's 4 of those there. And oops, I'm trying to check, make sure I'm on frame. I'm working with a new video system here. So let's hope that it's going to work. I'm gonna try not to make it too long, but you never know. When you go live, it just goes crazy. So anyway, so there is, very nice, nicely fit in there. I could even add one more that is not as full. There's only 1 page that I've worked on. This is a brand new one. There's nothing in it. So, definitely you could add 2 more of those. But let's see, I could theoretically kind of snugly fit another one, but that might not work. I don't want to put pressure on the edges here, and I'll show you why. So let me take these out. They are chunky, and if you want to use this little magazine, obviously I got the idea from a magazine holder, right? A box, a magazine holding box. And I saw it and I thought, why couldn't I make one for my TNs? And now I'm sure this is not an original idea. I'm sure other people have made these, but maybe not necessarily for TNs. I don't know. I haven't seen any. I went on Pinterest and someone made a really tiny one and put like an accordion mini album in it. So that was an idea there, but I personally haven't seen anyone using them to hold their TNs. So again, it's not an original idea. I kind of came up with my own way of making them. I'm sure there might be others out there. The whole point of why I made it for TNs is obviously I had to make it to fit. So I had to make it a certain width and a certain height to hold the TNs. A normal TN is 8 1/4 to 8 1/2, somewhere around there, and between 4 1/4 or 4.5 inches wide. So I basically just added an extra inch, actually more like 3/4 of an inch higher and wider. So that's I'm gonna tell you the measurements here so you can see. So that's roughly about 9 inches. Let me make sure I'm still in frame. Again, now I have my monitor over there showing me where I am, but there's still stuff in my way. So that's 9 inches tall, because again, I added about a 3/4 of an inch higher. And there it is about 5 inches wide, because a TN is about 4 1/4. 4 1/4, 4.5. So again, when they get chunky, I wanted there to be enough room so that things weren't too constricted. And then with regards to the width, I just kind of picked I don't know, I just picked 4 inches, which I made an adjustment, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. So it's 4 inches wide. And then this distance here, how tall this, you can make this shorter, smaller, whatever. I just, again, I kind of felt that even a little bit halfway through, that will support the T-ends, and you know, they can't fall off for some weird reason. But you know, again, this distance here can be adjusted. I think the only distance that you, or I'm sorry, the only measurements you can adjust are how wide, because that will determine how many you can put in inside. And really, that's it. Well, and I guess this part right here, but that has nothing to do with fitting it. It's more of, what do you like? Do you want something a little bit shorter here? I liked this height because I can put a little book plate. Is that what these are called? I'm not sure what they're called, but I had these from a very, very long time. So obviously, if I'm gonna keep making these, I'm gonna have to be on the hunt for more of those, and I'm sure we'll be able to find tons of them. So again, I will give you some ideas what you can do, but obviously once you get the tutorial out of it, you know, I'm sure you will adjust it accordingly. So the way I did this one is all the pieces were cut individually. So I had 1, 2, 3, and then the front 4, and then the bottom was number 5. So I had 5 pieces all together, 2, 4, and the bottom 5. And then I cut them individually, and then I glued them with glossy accents. So I use glossy accents to glue all the pieces together. And there are measurements, obviously, like I told you, right? This is 5 inches wide, but I didn't glue them so I chose one of the pieces to be glued on top of the other one, meaning they weren't, you'll have to select, if one piece goes, let me see if I can show you like this. So you can choose to glue this piece inside, kind of on top of that, which means this piece will become smaller because now this one is taking space over here. So, but you know, you can decide, do you want to glue it like this or do you want to glue it like that? I hope that makes sense. So on top, corner to corner, which is exactly the same thing. You're just deciding which of the 2 pieces you're going to do. So, you know, just pick one, and then I put the glue here, and then I just did it, you know, held it there until the glue adhere. And then I did this, you know, the same all the way around. Let me put these away here. All of those are Webster's pages. Crazy. And then, because I wanted to make sure it wasn't gonna fall apart, I use shipping tape and added shipping tape on all of the edges. All the edges, and then even here. I'm sure you can kind of see that. Because I did not want it to come apart. So adding the shipping tape on all the sides made it very, very strong. So not only did I glue it, but I also reinforced it with the shipping tape. But before I put it together, I cover the pieces with, it's actually double-sided paper. And here, let me show you. The paper I use is, of course, by Webster's Pages. It's because I have tons and tons of the paper. I am part of the design team for Webster's Pages. That's why I have a lot of paper by them. And so I didn't want to, you know, select a paper that in case I made a mistake, I ran out and I didn't have enough. And of course, I love stripes. I love black and white stripes, but hey, this one still works. So it's a double-sided paper. It was kind of neutral, and I think that maybe the next ones, a few more that I will make, I'll use more colorful papers. But for this first one, because again, I had a lot of paper, the same paper, if I made a mistake, I wasn't worried about not having enough to cover it. So I cover the inside with this pattern here, and obviously kept the stripes on the outside. So it's up to you. I guess you could paint it if you wanted to, but it just added a cute little cuteness to it by covering the inside. I mean, I hope you can see inside, but it's covered all the way to the bottom, except here. I didn't add anything here, but I could. No one's gonna see that, but it's all up to you. And that was how I made this one. I did keep the template and the measurements, and obviously just by measuring everything, this one here, my sample, I can replicate it again. And I just use some pretty thick chipboard that I have accumulated. You know, sometimes when you buy paper pads, the front and the back, you can probably use them to make this. So here, just to give you an idea, this is just a paper pad that I got from Tuesday morning. And so this cover right here, you could use it to make one of these. You will definitely need two. So here's the other one. And again, because you're going to reinforce it with shipping tape, and the fact that you're gonna cover it with paper, that's gonna make it super strong. So it's a good idea to keep this type of you know, pages, save them to work on projects like this. I've heard some people use cereal boxes. I haven't personally, so I don't know how strong. I think for me, I wanted it to be super strong, and actually this chipboard probably came not from one of these. This was actually chipboard that I don't even know where I got from. So that's some ideas there. But what I ended up using, or what I thought was, once I loved it and I wanted to make more, I went on the hunt for more chipboard, but I wanted bigger pieces so that possibly I could just use one sheet to create a box, just like what you would get, like if you buy them at a Target or IKEA. They all seem to be a one piece. So that was my goal. So this video is not going to be, we're not going to be cutting each individual piece, although I briefly explained to you how to do that. I spend a lot of time creating a new template, so it will be one piece. The trick here, or the different part between what I just explained to you using chipboard from a paper pad is, a paper pad, they're gonna be 12 by 12. So you're gonna need two pieces, and you can do it making it the way I described it here, which is cutting each individual piece and then reinforcing it with shipping tape, and then covering all that shipping tape with some pretty paper. Now this one here is just gonna be one piece. So if you want to know how to make, obviously this one, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to go look for this type of chipboard. So this one I got from Amazon, and I will have a link. And maybe what I can do, so I'm trying to figure out how to share this, because obviously this is my template. I'm sure maybe some of you are gonna want this template, so I have to figure out how to share it. I have a blog. I could probably just add it there. Now, can you see the tape? So what I did is I have this extra big pieces of paper that I got from my printing company that I use. They make my journals, so they gave me some samples. So I used those and patched them up together. I'm sure you can use just white printer paper, like 8.5 by 11, and then put it together so that you have one big piece. And you might have to, again, if I'm going to be able to share this with you, you're gonna have to print it maybe in 2 separate pieces and then glue them together. So that would be probably a whole new video that I would have to create to show you how to do that. So what you would do is just print, just, you know, when you upload your file, it's gonna be larger than that 8.5 by 11. And just like if you were to print an article from a magazine that might take 2 to 3 pages, it's gonna be the same for this. And so therefore it's going to print it in 2 separate sheets. Once you do that, you just put them like a puzzle and you put it back together, glue it together with a piece of tape, and then cut it out like this and create a template for yourself. So you would end up with a piece just like mine. So that way, in case you want to keep making more, then that's how you would do it. So I'm gonna show you, then after that, I have to make sure somehow that I can create a template digitally, then upload it to my blog and send you all over there, and then you guys can get a copy, because obviously how else are you gonna get it? I could also, you know what, write the measurements over here, and I mean, I don't know how else. I could add, like I said, the measurements and tell you what everything is, and then you can just draw it out yourself. So for example, I mean, you can see, so this paper is, or this chipboard is 18 inches wide by 12 inches tall. So there's 12 inches there, and then roughly, well, so that was 12, roughly plus 6, so it's 18 inches. I mean, I can show you, it says right there, it is, can you see that? I'm so close to my window. So it is 12 by 18, and there's the 10 means that there's 10 sheets of this in here. So I made it so that it would fit here. And I haven't opened that, but let me clear out some space. And like I said, I got this from Amazon, and I will have a link. I think I paid, oh, I can't remember, but it turned out that if one of these would come out to like $4, I think. No, that can't be right, because then that, if there's 10 sheets in here, that would mean that I pay 40 bucks, and I know I didn't pay that. So again, I'll just have links, so there's no sense of me wondering and giving you false information. So I will just go ahead and do it the right way and find out the correct information, and then just share it with you. Okay, so let's see. I don't even, oh yeah, they are super thick. This is gonna be great. These types of chipboards, they come in different, they give it a certain measurement by points. So there are some that are, let's say, 80 points, kind of like paper. You know how they paper, you find it according to, let's say, 100 pounds, 80-pound paper. Well, this goes by points, and I believe this one was 0.48 points. I know that sounds redundant, but or maybe it was just 48 points, and that's how thick it was. So I didn't want one that was super thick, and there was one that was like 20, so I found the one in between, and that's what this is. Again, once you get the link, you'll have specific information. I used Prime, and it got here in 2 days, 2-3 days, and so I had to wait for it to come to start videotaping, obviously. So I know everybody was asking, and so I had to wait to get this so that I can share. And look, it is almost perfect all the way around, all the way to the edge. So I could actually just do a little minor adjusting and make it really 100% fit on this rectangle, and it will just be one cut. So I will go ahead and trace, and I'm gonna leave it the way the template is. Maybe the next ones I make, I will, well, I don't want to make it any taller. So if I adjust, it would be these over here, which all they're gonna do is they overlap, and that's more of a way of reinforcing the piece, but we'll see. So for now, obviously, if you can use a straight edge of the actual paper, that's better, because mine could be a little crooked. So always line it up to the top of whatever material you're using. So if that way, that's going to ensure that this edge over here is straight, and this edge over here is straight, which it seems like I might have cut it a little crooked. You see that? This one seems to be okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace. There will be parts of the video where I will just be cutting and doing my thing, and maybe I'll put some music or something and you guys can just watch. This is probably gonna be one of the longest videos I have made. And of course my hands are out like this because I had to set up the table and the video so that you guys can see. Normally it would be closer to me, so my head would be in the way and I don't want to block you. So hopefully you guys still can get the idea of what's happening, and hopefully my noggin is not going to get in the way. And even if I make a quick little mistake here, I can always adjust because I already know perfectly what my measurements are. So I can even do just some reference points and then join up my lines. So maybe that's what I'll do. It seems like it's just gonna be easier. I'm gonna use some just points like this, so I know where things go. And that's the problem with live taping. Your dog is on the background because somebody's walking across the street and nobody is allowed to walk on his street. So I have a window right here in front of me, and I have this one huge light here and one huge light here. And the other day, this car stopped right in the middle in front of my window and was looking, was totally looking. So there was a couple of ladies, and I'm sure they were wondering, what in the world is Carmen up to? So I'm Carmen. That's my alter ego. See, this is why I don't do live videos, because then stuff starts coming out. Okay, I think I can pull this down a little bit and get rid of that so there's not a lot of shadows. Oh man, I'm already at 25 minutes. That's crazy. Anyways, Carmen was a fictional character that this mom, when the boys were little and they were at elementary school, we went to this fun event and she forgot my name, and we were dancing and having a great time. It was for the school, so again there was all the parents and the teachers were there, and she forgot my name, and so she kept calling me Carmen. And from then on, all the other parents, they say when fun Claudia comes out dancing and having a good time, it's really not Claudia, it's Carmen. So I don't even know why I started talking about that. So anyways, let's get back to this. You see, so I'm just kind of meeting up with all these little dots. You might not be able to see them, but it's just kind of like connecting the dots. that is one thing I changed. I was gonna tell you and then I got sidetracked, so here it is. So this one here, I had measured it to be 4 inches wide. So I needed 4 inches, which it made sense when I bought the paper. I thought perfect because each of these sides are 5 inches wide. So and these two here, each one is 4. So I thought 5, 10, 14, 18, which is 18 inches here. But when I decided to make it one piece, I wanted to have this little lip right here, so then that's where my glue is gonna go, and then I'll be able to attach it like that. So what I did is I cut 1/4 of an inch here and 1/4 of an inch here, and that gave me 1/2 an inch here. So now this, instead of being 4, it's 3 3/4 right there, and then this one has to be the same. Oops. It's also 3 3/4. And again, that gave me the 1/4 from here and the 1/4 from here that I took, gave me this extra space here. And then now I was able to again use only one sheet, and this doesn't go straight because again it's a little lip, so you can just cut a little notch. And I'm not liking the light. It's unbelievable. I have 2 huge lights over here plus this window, and yet I feel like it still looks so dark. And then this one here. And then I'm gonna use an X-Acto knife. Oh, I forgot one, didn't I? Yeah. I ended up adding this one as I had to glue this extra little piece of paper here because I didn't think I was gonna need it, but it just made sense to add one more little lip here, which I did mark. I just forgot. So there, one piece. And so we're gonna cut all the way around the edges, and then we're gonna score. So there is my kind of dilemma when I'm trying to think how that's gonna work out. Hopefully by scoring, that's just gonna be enough for these pieces to fold and keep their shape. Okay, so I have to apologize for this ugly mat, but I've had it forever. It's big enough and it's going to protect my table. So that's that. But I also have good news. Guess what? I thought, why don't I give my scissors a try and see if that works, because cutting with scissors is going to be so much easier and faster than trying to cut with the X-Acto knife. And they do. Now these work. I don't know if other scissors would cut, but these gold scissors work just fine. Oh my gosh, I did it all with the scissors. But now we have to score, so maybe it is a good idea I kept that. Okay, so how am I gonna score this? Let me see what tool I have. Okay, I had to take that out because it is just making it ugly. And here comes the sun. So I'm gonna use my paper cutter because it has that little groove right there, and I feel like I can keep things just straight instead of using the ruler. And then I have this tool here, which it is a it is for embossing. I'll have to look for them. It has 2 tips, 2 different size tips. They're like little balls at the end. Let's see. Can you see that? So that way you can use it to create a more finer line. So it's supposed to glide, but you know what? I think I'm gonna play it safe and just use this groove here. Let's see. Yeah, this chipboard is tough. It's not there is an indentation there, but you need to have a really good line, because I feel like if I don't, the chipboard might crack and then rip. So yeah, I feel like this chipboard is actually even too thick. I have it, I got it, so I gotta use it, but in your case, I think that the thinner one will still work fine. And there, not bad. It's going pretty quick. Okay. So there it is. So I will do, oh my gosh, I need to start saying so. I'm going to put the smaller flaps on top of the two that are larger. So, I just did it again. There. And I think the bottom, by adding this overlapping like this, it's gonna make the bottom strong. Now all we have to do is find a paper that we're gonna line it on the inside, and we could do the outside afterwards, I guess, or we can, because the thing is, if you put it on, you have to make sure that when you close it and put it together, that paper is gonna stretch. And you might find it, every time you fold something, this molding around corners motion tends to pull the paper away from the edges. So it might be best if we do that, instead of trying to cover everything with one piece, we actually cut little pieces on of each shape and then glue those on top. So this is the paper I have decided to use. It's still kind of a neutral color, kind of similar to the very first one I made. Same thing, it has a beautiful floral pattern on the inside. Again, these are by Webster's Pages. I love their paper. I mean, it's just, everything is, I mean, that's just my preference. I absolutely love their paper collections, and I think that because of the fact that they're two double-sided, that just works great. So I'm gonna use this for the outside, and we'll keep the floral on the inside. So you can use the template itself like this, and then mark your paper. And isn't it beautiful that everything is just going to be lined up perfectly? We just have one tiny little sliver here that's not gonna work, and I guess we don't have to worry about these little flaps because they're gonna actually be hidden. I am gonna go for it and just use my scissors instead of my paper cutter. This is for the inside, right? And that is this piece here. Yes. And so when I go like this, and that's the excess, so that works perfect. So you gotta be aware of there's the wrong side and the right side when you cut, just like when you're sewing. If you want your pattern to go a certain direction, and depends on your the paper that you use, you try to be aware that you need to know which direction the paper is gonna go and cut it accordingly. This one just happened to fit. I mean, the lines, if you can see, that's better here, they line up just right, even though you would think, oh my gosh, that's a pretty easy pattern to match. So you can see all the lines still match. So I got lucky on that. Now I did use glossy accents as well, because when I made this one, there was tape on the corners, and I was afraid that whatever adhesive I used may not adhere to the plasticky texture or the feeling of the shipping tape, but it did well. And in this case, since I won't have any, that will be fine. have a brayer. They come in handy. Now, if I could find a company that could make these, would be a lot easier. This is new. This is the first time I'm making this. That hopefully by you just watching me do this, you will get you know, the gist of it, and the you know, just the overview of how I made it, and that should be enough, and that you will be able to you know, follow along and improvise as you are making your own. I think I gave everything enough a chance to dry, and it's looking okay. Again, my suggestion would be to get a thinner chipboard, because although this project is going to be really strong, I feel that the folding might be the one thing that's going to cost you a little bit of a problem. So this is kind of what it's supposed to look like, and I'm going to use this double-sided, it's supposed to be a pretty strong adhesive, and so I'm gonna do the bottoms first and leave this edge, but because it's double-sided, you can actually put the tape on and then peel it apart when you're ready. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so here we go. Does that look okay there? And so now I'm going to take this one off. Let's see how much overlapping there is. I could actually put an extra piece, and I am going to, because I need it to be super strong. So I should have done that before, but again, we're both learning, as all of us are both, because there's just one more of you watching. We're all learning as I'm doing this. So there. Just go in there with your fingers and push down. And there's our box. It looks okay inside. That's what it looks at the bottom. And the edges over here, because the chipboard is kind of thick, it did that. It doesn't fold in a smooth way. So I think, again, you won't have that problem with the thinner chipboard. I feel like I'm going to put a little bit of shipping tape around just to be secure, and maybe even I could even go around this way, because it's all gonna be hidden with the pretty paper that we're gonna cover it with. And just put a few little pieces here and there. Again, I do like the fact that this chipboard is pretty solid. It's hard to work with, but it is very strong. And now all we have to do is decorate the front, or the outside, I should say. So now it's time to cut the other pieces. And so what I'm gonna do to speed things up, I'm going to use the box itself as a way of tracing the pieces that are gonna be covering the box. And on the back of this paper, I'm not sure how well it's going to transfer to, when we glue it. I don't know that it will be seamless like this one here, but let's just see what happens. And again, just to make things easier this time, instead of trying to wrap the paper all the way around, I'm just gonna cut each individual piece. But it looks just right. It's a little taller there. Yep. So I'm gonna glue this side first. So I'm gonna turn it over and kind of push on it, so if it moves a little bit, you still have time. See, it moved. Okay. And any excess, you can always trim it. Again, guys, handmade stuff is not perfect. Lines can be a little crooked. I mean, I remember when we moved into this house, the walls were not straight the windows, the molding around the windows. So if that happens on a house, you can imagine what it can happen here. Okay, let's grab the other sheet. Let's clean up. Let's clean up on the table, because if you saw my floor, it is not clean. That's what happens, and then I have to straighten things out and then start all over again. So let's see. Oh no, I did it right. Because see, if I would have sketched the outline on the wrong side, this paper would be like this on this side. Oh my gosh, these are so beautiful. So there's that, and let's see. Oh man, look at that. It lines up. I don't know how. It just does. Beautiful. Okay guys, you guys are the ones who asked for this video. I hope I didn't totally mess it up, and I hope I don't get too many thumbs down on this. I'm kind of nervous because I feel like I'm not on my top game right now, because I'm learning as I'm going. So we're kind of, you know, this is my second time. I always do this second time doing this, because this one doesn't count because it was totally different, but this one turned out okay, and that was my first time doing that. So I think this one, I think it's going okay for being my first time. So let's see what happens. See, no matter how much you measure, you're always gonna end up with an odd something, but it's do it for the process. Remember, for the process, because that's the fun part, making it. Once this is done, I will put it away, and yes, this does have a purpose. It does provide a service, but this is the fun part, putting it together. I could put washi tape over here, make it look prettier, because these corners sometimes look kind of funny, but I don't know. You know how you start something, and if this is your first time, there's all kinds of things that are happening, but then if you do it enough times, wow, look at almost pretty close, it matches. So, you know, after you do things over and over and over, you kind of get the hang of it. So that's probably what's gonna happen. Right now, I'm all over the place, but once I make these like 10 times, I'm gonna crank him up like that guy who does that folding of the pizzas for Domino's. Something like that. And then we just gotta let it dry all the way. Wow, that's pretty good up here. Wow, I think we got it. OMG. I like it. And it's from, okay, kind of one piece. It is one piece, right? The cardboard was one piece. Okay, it's taller. How? It's okay. It's totally fine. I bet you it's because this is not flat, and because this, it's the overlapping, it just creates an extra bulk, meaning it's not flat on the bottom. So yeah, see, but it's fine. I think what I could have done, but see, that was the whole point of trying to use one piece. I can't go all the way across because there's not enough material on that 18. So again, guys, forgive me because you know, there's some things that changed, but that's how the game is played. So that is it. I guess I will put a little piece here to cover that, although it's absolutely not necessary. And that is 5 by 3 1/4. Now all I need is that little book plate on the front, and I will be done. So I have another one. This one is silver, and I have this super skinny double-sided tape, so that's what I use to glue this one on. So I'm gonna do the same here. Let's see, so you can see me. So here it is. I put the adhesive there. And now let's see if I can center it. Looks okay. I could put a little brads in there, or little enamel dots to act like little, I don't know, little screws that you could put. But that's it. We made it. We are done, guys. I hope that although it's a huge video, it is totally worth it. I will have links at the end of everything, and maybe even more suggestions, or the other different products that like the thinner chipboard, and maybe even larger size, which would be greater, because it would be better, because then I wouldn't need that overlapping on the other side. So here it is. Look at how many of the skinny ones, the ones that, you know, if you have a lot of unused journals, they can fit. That's 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. These 3 are, you know, pretty chunky, but I can do one more there. So look at that. Don't they look so pretty? I think so. The colors kind of match. I'm going to try and do one where I'm going to use more colorful paper and see how that looks. So please let me know what you think. Again, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Obviously, it's not a perfect video in the sense that, hey, I made a few mistakes, but this was my first time doing this. It's, you know, this style where it's just a one piece of cardboard or chipboard versus using all these different pieces and gluing them one at a time. So honestly, I like this better. If I can use a thinner chipboard, I think this is the way that I'm going to be making them from here on. Hopefully I'll be able to do something so that these 2 pieces here at the bottom, they're not on top of each other, rather than laying you know, flush with each other, so that there's not, but see, it doesn't even matter. This one doesn't wobble. This one wobbles a little bit because, again, that chipboard is overlapping the other one. So maybe I'll figure out a system or again, material. I know how, I just didn't have the right size, because that's just how it works. So if you come up with something else, let me know. And thanks so much for sticking around, and hope that you use this. If you do, I hope you would tag me so that I can see them. White sugar or hashtag, you know, tag me, or Instagram at White Sugar Designs. That's it. So thank you so much. Until next time, take care.